and welcome to the Total Soccer Show. My name is Daryl Grove. I'm joined by a man who's knee-deep in Premier League preview information. His name is Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Hello. I think we're a quarter of the way through. We'll be halfway through at the end of this one. So I like to think I'm like hip-deep.
Hip-deep, yeah. Well, we're halfway through done researching, right? Mm-hmm. Plus, if you take 10 teams we've researched, plus your innate Manchester United knowledge, just above you here. You're belly button deep.
More so my innate Manchester United fear and like neuroses than yes.
We'll get into all of that on tomorrow's Total Soccer Show, because today's show we are previewing Chelsea, Crystal Palace, Everton, Fulham, and Huddersfield.
It doesn't count if you look away from the papers after you frantically look at the papers.
It's just for reassurance. I look at the papers for reassurance.
Daryl Grove looked at all the papers in front of him, read the names, got done with Fulham, and then looked away and said Huddersfield.
So I saw you looking. It's like I'd been caught. It's like my hand in the cookie jar. Before we preview...
It's like, no look, but also sort of look.
So we're doing 5 teams per show. If you're enjoying them, please share them, let people know about them. But before we move on, we should do some catch-up on yesterday. I liked our previews yesterday. Yeah. Some people didn't. Those people were managers who were making signings.
Okay, I was really confused for a minute.
They decided to ruin our preview by making some late signings. So what's happened since we last recorded, Taylor?
Joe Hart has gone to Burnley for reasons.
For reasons. I guess Burnley are just collecting England goalkeepers?
Apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, or Anders Lindegaard, I think you said off air, is just cursed to walk the earth and never play. The
soccer gods like to dangle first-team Premier League football in front of him and then be like, ha, no, not happening.
I feel like...
For real, Nick Pope injured, Tom Heaton coming back from injury, Anders Lindegaard cursed by the soccer gods. Yeah. So Joe Hart signs for Burnley.
It feels like Sergio Romero showed him the door to the career backup keeper lounge.
Yeah.
And Anders Lindegaard was like, no, I don't need to be there. And Sergio Romero responded, you'll be here one day, sir.
Yeah.
Just accept it one day and you'll be here.
Go wander in purgatory.
Yeah.
See you later.
Yeah. So instead he's at Burnley.
The other one was Jefferson Lerma.
Yeah.
We mentioned that this was a possibility. Yeah. He has signed for Bournemouth.
He has.
This might be a good thing if you're a Bournemouth fan, because you think, hey, a Colombian World Cup midfielder. I think it means Lewis Cook is leaving.
I would agree with that.
It's maybe a bad thing if you're an Emerson Hyndman fan, as I am and I think you are, because it's another midfielder in Emerson's way.
Yeah. I did appreciate your linear way of thinking with that one of, they're losing a midfielder, so it's definitely going to be Emerson Hyndman. And I think I said, I feel like they might go out and reinvest some of that money. And here we are.
Any other signings that happened after we recorded yesterday?
I'm sure there are, but I don't care to talk about them.
Well, we'll catch up on them as we go, right?
Yep.
If Burnley signed another English goalkeeper, we'll update on that.
I'll be very
tomorrow.
confused.
There are a couple transfer updates just before we hit record today, so I'm excited to get to them.
Well, then shall we get to them?
Yeah, you ready for our first team?
Let's do it.
First up, it's Chelsea Football Club.
It is.
Chelsea Football Club. What's new at Chelsea? Everything. Let's start with not being in the Champions League.
Okay.
That's new for Chelsea. That's a weird and rare experience.
I mean, except that they did it the season after Mourinho left,
true.
right?
Right.
So, I mean, I think in the past 3
year.
seasons, they've been out of the Champions League more than they've been in it.
Okay, I take it back then. I take it back. The other big new thing, which you cannot dispute, is that Maurizio Sarri is the head coach of Chelsea Football Club. He replaces Antonio Conte eventually.
And in comes Sarri Ball.
Sarri Ball. It is called Sarri Ball, right? Which sounds like an apology, but it's actually very, very aggressive.
Sarri Ball. Worth noting.
Maurizio Sarri. Okay, this is weird. I think this is going to be, at least for me, this is the touchstone, the cornerstone for my whole preview, is Sarri started work late and not through his own fault.
Yep.
It's partly Antonio Conte's fault, right? Conte held on at Chelsea.
Fault is a harsh way to put didn't want to be fired.
That's fair, yeah. So they shouldn't have fired him if he still had his
contract.
This is
100% on Chelsea. So, Chelsea should have just said, nope, we're done. We'll pay your money.
Okay, I don't disagree, but the normal sequence of events, at least, is that coaches somewhat willingly leave, take whatever settlement they're offered, and then go on to the next thing. Antonio Conte stayed until he got the best possible settlement, and that meant that Maurizio Sarri came in later than he would have liked.
Yeah, but again, that's still Chelsea. Chelsea are the ones who aren't making that.
All right, whoever's fault it is, it's not ideal for Chelsea.
I don't know why I'm defending Antonio Conte, but I am.
You're defending
Because anytime it's like, the guy who was fired, like he dug his feet in. It's like, because he wanted a job or he wanted his money. But in comes Sarri. But I think he would be struggling anyway because of the World Cup and because there are a lot of late transfers happening for Chelsea.
He said he hasn't seen Hazard, Courtois, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, who else? Giroud and N'Golo Kante.
Yep.
So anyone that went deep in the World Cup has only just reported for practice at Chelsea. Their first game is this weekend.
Also, at time of recording, I believe they're expected to sign at least 2, maybe 3 players tomorrow. So it's going to be a fluctuating squad, is how I'm going to phrase that.
It's the whole thing, right? And there's the Maurizio Sarri style of play, Sarri ball, that you talked about. He's going to have to implement that. I think it's going to be tough to implement it before the season starts. Did you watch any of the Community Shield?
Yep.
So did you see the 2 goals they conceded?
Yep.
Both of them looked like a Chelsea team that knew what the system was but didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yeah, 100%. And I think that we'll get to this as well when we talk about Everton, but it's the product of when you have such managerial turnover, you have so many people in the squad that there are a lot of people that I think if you're not a Chelsea fan, you'll look at them and think like, oh yeah, that guy's still there. Oh yeah, that guy's still there. Doesn't help that they have 700 players on loan.
Yep.
But so you have all these players coming in and they definitely feel like, all right, I'll play you until my actual central midfielder comes back, or I'll play you until my actual left back comes back.
Yep.
And so you have players who are clearly not going to fit the system and probably not going to be there much longer, but he's got to play somebody, so there they were.
Oh, okay. So before we get to the style of play, what else is new at Chelsea in terms of personnel? I'll give you as a starter, Jorginho.
Have you seen the video?
No,
the one of him going into the shop with his mom.
No,
if you haven't seen that,
I have.
If you haven't seen that, you have to go watch it. It's basically he takes his mother in to show her like his name on the back of a Chelsea jersey. It's just a very good reaction from his mother.
Very emotional
muted.
moment, right?
It made me very excited to watch Jorginho. I'll put it that way.
The weird thing to me is Jorginho's been a professional player for a long time, right? He played for Napoli. He was a Sarri player at Napoli last year when they finished second in Serie A. But it really brought home to me how big of a deal it is to be a Premier League player.
Yeah.
Right? The fact that meant so much when he'd been in another top league is a real reminder of what it means to get to the Premier League. It's like making it.
He's also relatively new. Like, yes, he was a key performer for them last season, but as I recall, he wasn't there when Sarri first took over. He was brought in as a replacement and sort of was brought in as a secondary replacement and then cemented his spot as a starter, then became this world-class midfielder.
Yep.
Now has moved to Chelsea. So it's been this very quick rise for a player who I think briefly was like, oh, maybe I'll go to like the second division in Italy or like a lower tier team in Spain. So to be suddenly with Chelsea, it would make your mom cry a little bit in the store.
And if you're interested in his backstory, he is Brazilian, but he, I think through Italian, residency, gained an Italian passport. So he now plays for the Italy national team. You would have seen him at the World Cup if the other Italian players were better.
Oh, get it together, Italy. Mancini, balls in your court. Mancini, not a big fan of Maurizio Sarri, by the way. Maybe it's worth noting that here, that Sarri brings with him some baggage.
He does. I think he made, what we can call homophobic comments toward Mancini in a Coppa Italia game, quarterfinal, I want to say.
Yeah.
Last year, Sarri fined by the Italian Federation for the word that he used.
And I think was asked about it in his unveiling and sort of did a little bit of hand-waving and, oh, that's not a thing, blah, 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 media, blah, blah, fake news.
But he said that word.
Yeah, he definitely did.
You said that word.
And if he said it once, he probably said it multiple times.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
So that's like, it colors it a little bit because he has so many great quotes and he seems like such an interesting character. But whenever you have that little like, ooh, but in a moment of stress, you might say some stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that.
So keep your eye on Sarri's mouth.
Also, and for that reason, because he's also a heavy smoker, or at least was up until recently, smoked on the sidelines of Napoli games.
Can you do that in England?
You cannot. So how he'll deal with that?
It's a public space. You probably can't smoke in stadiums.
I'm guessing you can't vape either.
Even if you're the very expensive coach, you can't smoke in stadiums.
He's just going to have like an entire... Whereas Jorge Sampaoli has a sleeve of tattoos, Sarri's just going to have a sleeve of nicotine pouches. Excuse me.
Well, let's hope that works out for him. Before we get to Sarri's style of play, I want to talk about other ins and outs. One interesting thing, I think, apart from other new signings, is the loanees returning.
Yeah.
So Ruben Loftus-Cheek, who I think I made very clear I'm a big fan of at the World Cup. He was great for Crystal Palace last year, central midfielder. He's back. I hope he's back to stay. I think he can be a starter in the Sarri system.
I think there's a chance he will be. And I think there's a chance that, provided they don't bring in 400 other players, which they may well do, he does feel like the most natural to partner Jorginho and I think N'Golo Kante as that midfield three in the 4-3-3 that we know Sarri wants to play.
I'd love that. That would be the midfield of my dreams.
I still have questions about Jorginho and Kante, but I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt because I love both of those players.
Let's get to those when we get to style of play. Other loanees returning, Kurt Zouma. Kurt Zouma's a defender I rate really highly. Tammy Abraham, who scored a few goals at Swansea in a bad Swansea team, and Michy Batshuayi is back from Borussia Dortmund to compete with Olivier Giroud and Alvaro Morata.
Yep.
But then there was news this morning News this morning that Chelsea are signing a whole new goalkeeper.
Yep. Well, that's because Thibaut Courtois refused to show up for training, did not report yesterday, has not reported today, seems to have isolated himself in an attempt to force that transfer to Real Madrid.
That's where he wants to go.
It is, and it seems like that's where he's going to be going, which has led to some reports that have been confirmed. Matt Law on Twitter tweeted, "I was very wary of this earlier because of the money involved, but Chelsea have agreed to pay a world record £71 million to sign goalkeeper Kepa Arrizabalaga."
Spanish goalkeeper, plays for Athletic Club de Bilbao, or he did until recently.
Yeah.
I took a quick look at him. Don't know much about him because this all happened very quickly before recording. Didn't even have time to watch highlights.
There you go.
But he's youngish for a keeper,
23.
Right? 23, that's young.
That's just young, yeah.
Young for a keeper, right?
That's just young, period. 23 is young.
I guess it is.
23 is young.
It's younger than us.
Look, we're going to talk about Ryan Sessegnon, I get it, but still, 23 is young.
So Kepa, as I believe they call him, he could be in goal for Chelsea
Kepa
this
the
year.
keeper?
Kepa the keeper, yeah. It looks to me like Courtois on his way, obviously. Eden Hazard, is he leaving? I know you don't know the answer, but that to me, that's a big story. A few days before Premier League kickoff, we don't know if Hazard, we know he doesn't want to stay. We don't know if he will stay.
We don't. So one theory I've seen is that basically they're willing to spend so much money on a like a not top tier goalkeeper because they're going to have money coming in. I don't believe that. I think that basically
the money coming in will be from Courtois, right?
I mean, that combined with, I think there was speculation that maybe Hazard as well finances this move.
Oh, the Hazard pay.
Yes, exactly. Nicely done. I don't think that's the case. I think it's basically Chelsea recognizing kind of very bluntly, look, Courtois publicly wants to go. We can try to keep him here, but it's not going to go well. So we're going to have to let him go. We're going to get money from Madrid. So now everyone in the world is going to know we have sold our starting goalkeeper to Real Madrid, who have paid us a lot of money.
Yeah.
Now we are Chelsea with a lot of money and have money to spend on a position we have to fill. Everyone's going to ask us for a ton of money.
There'll be a surcharge.
And so I think they went for, I believe $71 million is right around Kepa's release clause. So I think that's why they've gone for him.
Makes
He's young. They can lock him down for multiple years, and that's what they're going to try to do.
Side note, you feel like there were a lot of La Liga teams looking at the release clauses they put in to people's contracts, to players' contracts, thinking, that's nice and unrealistic, let's keep it there.
Oh,
and
all the time.
All that Premier League TV money's pumped in, and suddenly Premier League clubs are like, yeah, we'll pay that.
Yeah, I 100% think that that's the case. That's why, didn't Messi's get bumped to like $1 billion or something? Like, yeah, I think when suddenly money means nothing anymore, you kind of got to worry about that type of thing. It's going to be like the price of Jupiter. I don't know. Whatever.
If I'm in the front office of a La Liga team right now, I'd be getting into some contracts and adding some zeros. Even just in pen. Just add a zero to some of those release clauses.
And Daryl's convicted of fraud.
Hey, it was just an idea. I didn't actually go and do it. Didn't actually go and do it.
But again, with the Kepa, I'm so happy you told me it's Kepa, so I don't have to keep trying to say Arrizabalaga over and over and over again. It's an interesting sort of like look into Chelsea because it's this huge team who, you go to their club shop and it makes your mom cry. They have that reputation. But for them, like, there's a decent chance that they have 4 players like completely gone or not involved in the squad from that Community Shield game until their starting game.
What? Who are the other ones?
So Nabil Fekir is supposedly about to come in tomorrow. He's the other one, as is Mateo Kovacic on loan, I'm assuming with an option to buy.
All right.
So suddenly, new goalkeeper. You've got like another attacker, another midfielder. You've got all the French players coming back. It just feels like they've got a lot still to figure out. And one thing I would say, forgive me for jumping around a little bit, is with all that said, we haven't touched on their center backs. And since that's a hallmark of what Sarri wants to play, they're such a fundamental feature. I don't know what they're going to do.
Well, let's put a pin in those centre backs, like some Premier League strikers will do. Let's talk about Maurizio Sarri's style of play. What is it? I mean, we saw it at Napoli, right? So you and I have seen it with our eyes. What exactly is it? I have my ideas and you have your ideas. Let's compare notes.
Lots of shots, lots of possession, leading to not many shots on your own goal. That's about how I would say it.
That would be the nice way to phrase it, right?
It's basically a very high line.
Yep, very high press.
Very high press, very high line. So you're essentially incredibly focused on winning the ball back as quickly as possible, then reestablishing possession. It's not quite as hit and run as, say, maybe Liverpool's might be. Still very much playing on the counterattack if the situation presents itself, but it's about really almost suffocating your opponent so that they consistently can't make the right decision.
And I think we're getting into territory here where I think I called it yesterday, the EPL stands for Everybody's Pressing League.
Yep.
We need to start differentiating between types of press.
Sure.
What I see from Napoli, what I see as part of Sarri ball, what I've seen from Chelsea in the Community Shields and a couple of pre-season friendlies is, I want to call it a narrow press. Like if the opposition right back has the ball, like the Napoli team, the Chelsea team, will all kind of shift to the left to almost the stage where there's no players on the right-hand side of the field. So they'll really get numbers and squeeze around you. It's a very compact press, and then it's focused on one side of the field, and they'll force you to the side. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then what I've also seen is when they have the ball, there are comparisons made with Guardiola teams, the way that they pass the ball. Sarri's teams are a lot more compact and tighter. As in, they'll pass the ball 3 yards at pace and everybody gets gathered around very, very close together rather than spreading the play out wide to the wings. And you saw this not work. I saw in the Community Shield players trying to pass the ball firmly 3-4 yards apart from each other, and they cough the ball up because it's new, because it's a really hard thing to do.
Well, that's the biggest thing for me is like it's hard to do because it requires technical expertise.
Yeah.
And that's what he wants in every single one of his players.
Yep.
If you're starting from Mauricio Sarri, the idea is that you are a technically proficient, if not perfect player.
Because you've got to be able to control that firm, quick pass from 3 yards away and move it on and make the next pass. Some players just can't do that. Some players just are not good enough to do that, and they're going to struggle in this system.
And I think that's why you won't have as many situations as you did with, say, Liverpool under Klopp, where it was sort of, okay, we can reinvestigate the entire squad from top to bottom and think like, oh, okay, Adam Lallana can actually do this role. Oh, Nathaniel Klein can actually do this role. James Miller can do this and this and this and this and this, and maybe goalkeeper. Like, you can kind of try to experiment a little bit because it's a different style. With Sarri and the amount of technical precision he wants, your options are kind of limited. Where if
because you've either got it or you don't.
Yeah, exactly. And if you can't control a ball at pace from 3 yards away, but then immediately play it in the right direction, in keeping the triangle shape at all times, you're not going to fit, and he's not going to want to use you. And that's why I think you're going to see a lot of players loaned out. I think a lot of players sold for probably discounts, and then a lot of players very frustrated by the lack of playing time this season.
The name I keep seeing is Bakayoko.
Yep. As of today, I believe linked with a move to Milan.
There we go. Yeah, the feeling is that Bakayoko covers a lot of ground, is very good defensively, just doesn't quite have the technique to control balls at short range and keep it moving. I would also look at someone like Cesc Fabregas, who does have the technique to keep a ball moving, but he's getting towards the end of his career. There's not that much gas left in the legs. I don't see him being able to cover enough ground to do the pressing and the covering of ground that is necessary in Maurizio Sarri's system. So I'm worried for some of these Chelsea players.
So let's stick with Fabregas for a second, because it is that midfield three. It's 4-3-3.
Oh yeah, we didn't say that, right? Yeah. That's the formation that he loves is 4-3-3. Yeah.
Jorginho coming in, you and I had a little bit of a disagreement about where he fits. I think he's going to be the regista, the number 6, the deep line playmaker, which basically means N'Golo Kante is more of a number 8. And I think Tifo Football had a breakdown. One of their arguments was that he can make the sort of between the lines runs that he likes to make more readily from a number 8 position. Either way,
Kante here?
Yes, exactly. Either way, the two of them are going to be in that midfield. There's no way that N'Golo Kante is sitting on the bench to come in as a substitute if Jorginho needs one, or vice versa. 66.6%
of that midfield is going to be starting N'Golo Kante and Jorginho,
which is very exciting, and that's a great
combo. Yeah.
The third one is the question mark, because right now it's up for grabs between, you've got Fabregas, Bakayoko, maybe, but seems likely out the door, Ross Barkley, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, or somebody else, and that's where I think we both agree maybe Cesc Fabregas starts because there aren't that many options. I do think this ends up being Ruben Loftus-Cheek.
It has to be, right? It has to be. To me, Ruben Loftus-Cheek has the best combination of all the other players, right? He covers ground. He has great technique, really soft feet. He's a quick thinker, like he thinks his way out of situations with sharp passes. You could say one of those things about the other 3 midfielders, but you can't say all of them about all of them.
Yep.
With all due respect to Ross Barkley.
I think that's paraphrasing a Bob Marley lyric, but sure, that works.
And we didn't even mention Danny Drinkwater. Who knows if he's involved there?
He's still alive, isn't
he? Yeah, he is.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with him. Good move, Danny Drinkwater.
What about up front? I think I gestured earlier at the idea that they have Giroud, Morata, and Michy Batshuayi.
Yeah. And I have as my specific prediction, the 2018-2019 season will be the campaign of Batshuayi.
What's that mean?
AKA the year that I learned to properly spell his name every time, as opposed to having to check that one. It means that
I copied and pasted for today's notes.
See, there you go. Eventually, I think Batshuayi.
Yeah.
Or Batshuayi? I forget. I tried to find a way to make it work. It didn't work. But I think, look at what Mauricio Sarri wanted from that front 3 in Napoli, and it's worth noting that the man who became like the leader of that line was Dries Mertens.
A winger.
And I'm not pronouncing that properly. Whatever. My Belgian, Dutch, Flemish.
It's
not
close
great.
enough that we all knew what you were saying.
Thank you.
There you go.
Dries Mertens.
Yeah.
He led that line. He is not Olivier Giroud. He is not Alvaro Morata.
He's not tall enough to be.
No, he's exactly. But I don't think that they're fast enough and quick enough and interchangeable enough that they can rotate around and play a variety of positions. Those guys are going to lead your line. Those are going to be your big target strikers.
Yep.
Not sure that fits the system. I think Michy Batshuayi fits the system much better.
I would argue, I think I'm agreeing with you here, much like how Ruben Loftus-Cheek combines the best of the other few midfielders, Michy Batshuayi combines the best of a target man. Like, he's a bit of a target man, though he's not as effective as Giroud or Morata because he's not as tall. But he's much more mobile, a bit more like a Dries Mertens. So he's a good in-between type player. I think you're right. I think he's their starting striker pretty early into the season.
I think so. I think Morata
Morata should look at airfare.
He should. He's still, ever since the stories, I don't know if this is true or not. I've never seen it confirmed, but I still go back to when it was supposed to be, quote unquote, him signing for Man United and Lukaku going back to Chelsea.
Yeah.
And there were the stories that he dyed his hair red. And if those are true, it really does feel like that was the beginning of the end for him already, that he was so up for this move and then suddenly it was like, okay, yeah, Chelsea, like a massive club, that's great. But when you've already sort of mentally committed yourself to then have to change it at the last second, it just feels like since then he's never been in the right frame of mind to be what Chelsea need him to be.
Did he really dye his hair red?
That's the story. I don't know if it's true.
He has like dark black hair, right? So he can just dye it black again and no one's any the wiser.
I'm sure he did that very quickly, yes. Or hope that Chelsea played in red as their alternate kit.
He was straight to Boots, which is the pharmacy in England.
So it feels frantically Googling the Just for Men line. So it seems like he's still in the funk. He's made the comments about like London is too noisy. It's not where he wants to end up living. It just doesn't seem like he's fit in still. And with Sarri having to figure out 8 million things and keep all the plates spinning, it seems like what he'll want to do is very quickly do nope, that's not working. Okay, that doesn't fit. Okay, Batshuayi, sure. And it makes me sad because we really enjoyed what Giroud did for France and all the things that he brought to that team.
I enjoy Batshuayi more.
I agree. I love that man.
For the social medias, if nothing else. We mentioned centre-backs. I'm a little concerned about Chelsea's centre-backs because...
This should just be this preview for Chelsea should just be titled, I'm a little concerned.
Which is weird, right? Because it could all work,
yep.
But right now it doesn't look quite ready to work. I think one of the reasons that we talked about is because Sarri's coming late, because the World Cup went late, the season is starting early. Like, the timing is all wrong to implement a new style.
Yeah.
And you'll hear a lot about... the big change is going from a back three to a back four, right? Like Conte loved a back three, Sarri prefers a back four, 4-3-3. But it's really about the system, right? It's about sort of how high up the field Sarri asks you to play versus the comparatively low block Antonio Conte was happy with you playing. I'm not sure that guys like David Luiz or Gary Cahill are quite ready to be playing in this high pressure and system where you have to be brilliant on the ball.
David Luiz already out there campaigning. Like, I've seen a couple different quotes from him talking about how it's this whole new thing and it feels like a breath of fresh air, and it's like, we get it, you want to stop. But I'm with you.
Now I've said that, he might be a good fit because he is very comfortable on the ball. He likes to take the ball forward. So
but I don't think you can use him in a back two, with two center backs in a back four.
Because he goes wandering.
He goes wandering, and I don't think that's what you want. You want the disciplined possession, technical ability.
Kurt Zouma, I'm team Kurt Zouma. Maybe
they've been linked with Rugani. Maybe it's Kurt Zouma. Maybe it's Rudiger. But I don't see it being Gary Cahill or David Luiz or even Andreas Christensen, unfortunately.
Okay, or Matt Miazga. Matt Miazga has been sent out on loan to Nantes.
With the option to buy.
Should we do a whole Americans abroad preview maybe next week?
I think Travis and I are going to touch on that with young Americans abroad on the Top Club Soccer show this week, but you and I can do that as well.
There we go.
One thing, we talked about the center backs briefly, but everything we're talking about with Chelsea is how they're kind of having to figure it out in a very abbreviated time frame because the World Cup ended, and so you're just now getting players back. You couldn't do a full preseason. Also, with the change to the transfer rules, so now you have to have everything done by the start of the season.
Thursday night.
And I think with that,
it's 2 days away.
It's insane. One narrative that I'm really starting to buy into is I think the table, at least in the first half of the season, is very much going to reflect the teams that got their business done early and got things figured out early.
Their business, including their coach.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's why I would be shocked if at Christmas the top three isn't City, Liverpool, Tottenham in some order. I really think that you're going to see Chelsea probably miss Champions League again because of this sort of indecision. Man United still trying to figure things out. Arsenal still trying to figure things out. I think they're going to battle it out. And really all that is to say, yesterday I was kind of down on Burnley and I didn't see how they could do it again. Burnley, they've got it figured out. They're going to do the same thing in a season when everybody else is scrambling to figure stuff out. I feel like Burnley might finish 7th again.
Speaking of, here's my prediction.
Mm-hmm.
The first 10 games of the season will be the worst 10 games for Chelsea in terms of results and form, and maybe even a little bit of panic in terms of did we do the right thing? Because, so there's everything you just mentioned, right, about getting things done early versus not. There's also, Mauricio Sarri knows that his system takes a while. I read a story that when he joined Napoli, did you read the same thing?
I did. This story goes against itself at the end, but go ahead.
Okay, when he joined Napoli, he told the president or the club chairman, we're going to lose the first 7 games, but it'll be worth it, and things will figure themselves out.
Laughed and laughed.
He did. And didn't the president eventually suggest a formation change?
This is the thing that I'm like a little kind of destroys that story.
So I want to skim over that part.
Yeah. Well, see, I
to
don't.
not destroy the narrative.
But okay.
But because I think the interesting thing is that Sarri essentially, even though that didn't work out exactly as he imagined it at Napoli the first time, I think he understands that his thing doesn't hit the ground running. So it actually
he was doing a different thing. That's the thing that stands out to me in that story.
He was in a different shape. He was doing the same pressing and short passing.
But he was doing a back three, right?
Yeah, but same style, different shape. It's the style that's the problem, not the shape.
Okay, that's a big but for me.
You could say to Chelsea, oh, you're playing a 4-3-3, and they'll be like, yeah, I know what that is. But you say to Chelsea, we're doing a high, narrow press, and we're doing very close passing where you all gather around the ball. That's the new thing. That's the new thing that, to me, is going to take a while to figure out.
Oh, yeah, I don't disagree with that. It's just more so that story was sort of, I think, meant to be this insight into Mauricio Sarri, knows how it's going to be, and he sticks to his guns, and he believes in himself. But the reality is, he sticks to his guns, he lost a bunch of games. The president was like, maybe you should change the formation. And he was like, I'll figure it out, don't worry. But yeah, I'm going to change the formation. It just felt sort of like, all right, I guess that's good.
Hey, he's adaptable.
Sure.
He's adaptable.
Sure.
But yeah, so just my big prediction is this is going to look horrible to start with. Community Shield looked horrible, right? There definitely were moments where Jorginho had a look on his face in both the Man City goals of, am I the only guy that knows what he's doing here? Because he was the guy doing the Sarri system. Ross Barkley was running around doing something else. Man City snuck in behind and Aguero gets a goal. That happened at least twice. So I think it's going to look bad, but it'll get better as the season goes on. And it'll be exciting no matter what.
I agree with you completely. I promise I don't think there's any bias here, but I mean this sincerely. If you're a Chelsea fan, my genuine advice would be just write this season off. Like, start with the idea that maybe...
Or at least half of it.
Well, I really am more so of the mind of, like, start with the idea that we're probably not going to make Champions League. And, like, we're aiming for top 4, but it's unlikely. And if you approach it with that sort of figuring it out, we've got this bloated squad, we've got to get rid of some dead weight, we've got to get everybody buying into the system, we've got to kind of change things around to figure out who exactly fits where. Is Victor Moses still a right back, or do we move Cesar Azpilicueta out there? Like, little things like that have to be figured out. And I think if you look at this season as the year where we're going to figure it all out, so that next season we come out and win the Premier League, qualify for the Champions League, I think you'll be happy if they turn it around at mid-season. But if you're kind of constantly expecting, when's it going to happen? When are we going to start challenging? Are we going to make top 4? You're going to be stressed the entire year.
I think that's good advice. Do you have a prediction? Oh,
I did.
The campaign of Batshuayi. All right.
I want to say the year, but it doesn't really fit because it's over the course of 2 years.
The half year of Batshuayi.
Exactly.
Just, if anyone's wondering, Chelsea start the season away to Huddersfield, which is one of those games that looks very winnable, but then might not be if you don't have it all figured out.
Yes. Yeah. I want to say, again, one more time about Chelsea before we move on. I'm so excited for Jorginho. He is a player I cannot wait to watch.
Oh, here's the one thing I saw in the Jorginho highlights. Look out for chipped balls over the top. Over balls. Direct over balls that we call them. If he's standing 30 yards from goal, he can find a way to lift it over centre-backs and into the path of a forward. There shouldn't be enough space to get it up and down like that and to get it in the path of the run. He keeps doing it. He kept doing it for Napoli. So excited for Jorginho.
Excited for this preview. We already did 30 minutes on Chelsea. I could probably do another 15, but we should probably move on.
They were the biggest team. The biggest team.
With a lot to talk about.
Up next, Crystal Palace. Crystal Palace still in the Premier League. No thanks to the coach that started the season last year, but lots of thanks to Roy Hodgson, who got them to 11th in the league. Roy Hodgson's back. That's not new. Roy Hodgson is back in charge at Crystal Palace. They've lost some players and they've gained some players. I want to say they're at like a net zero, basically, in terms of improving versus getting worse.
I think they're a little bit above net zero for me, but I understand why you would give them that grade.
Here's who's gone. Ruben Loftus-Cheek, again, big fan. He's gone back to Chelsea. He was very important for them last year. He's gone back to Chelsea. Johan Cabaye.
Not going to lie, I kind of forgot about Ruben Loftus-Cheek leaving.
So we're back to
that knocked it down a little bit,
Johan Cabaye, very important French midfielder. He's gone to Al Nassr in Dubai. So I think he's into his mid-30s. He's after that big paycheck. Timothy Fosu-Mensah, who was a somewhat important part of their back four, Dutch defender, he's gone back to Manchester United after being there on loan.
Yep.
Coming in, stop me if any of this is incorrect, by the way. Coming in, Cheikh Kouyaté, they got the Senegalese midfielder from West Ham. Max Meyer from Schalke. I'm very confused by that move, but there we go. Another midfielder. And Connor Wickham is back after 2 years out with a cruciate injury.
Yep. Yeah. So the Timothy Fosu-Mensah, while I love him, I think he was one of those players who started like every game under Frank de Boer.
Yeah.
That didn't go very well. Then he got intermittent starts under Hodgson, but I think he's one who maybe Hodgson didn't 100% back.
Yeah.
So he maybe, I'm not as concerned about.
Yeah.
The Ruben Loftus-Cheek one is going to be very difficult to replace, and that is the biggest loss, I think. Johan Cabaye, as you said, getting up there, maybe not quite as motivated after his several big moves didn't quite pan out, ending at Crystal Palace. I think they've done a good job with their recruitment this time.
So it kind of rests on Cheikh Kouyaté and Max Meyer equal to or better than Ruben Loftus-Cheek and Johan Cabaye. Yeah. And you'd say maybe, right? So we've got to give this team a chance.
I think so.
The big thing is, I read they don't have a lot of money to make a lot of new signings because they're still paying installments on Christian Benteke and Sacco, the centre-back that they got from Liverpool. So don't expect many new signings this summer.
But there's a lot of infrastructure improvements to come and like inner workings that need to be dealt with. So yeah, that's where it is sort of, I think, very smart that they didn't investigate other options. They stuck with Roy Hodgson because I think he is going to be the key for them this year. And and one big name.
Yeah, before we talk about the style of play, let's talk about Wilfried Zaha.
Sure.
So Wilfried Zaha is far and away their star player at this point, right?
Yeah.
Their star player. Sorry, that was terrible. There are rumours of him leaving.
You know what? You're still getting it. Boo.
That's fair. I'll take it. There are rumours linking him with Chelsea, rumours linking him elsewhere. Tottenham. I know that he has turned down a new contract with lots more money, and yet he also seems weirdly not.
Did he turn it down?
Yeah, he turned down the contract offer, but he's not agitating for a move, right? Like he's not Thibaut Courtois in it and not turning up for training.
Yeah.
He's playing in pre-season. He's scoring in pre-season. So it looks to me like he's going to start the season at Crystal Palace, looking happy and doing Wilfried Zaha things, which I'm happy to talk more about when we get to start.
Actually, I would like to talk about it right now.
Let's do it.
Because that's really interesting to me because I don't quite know what Hodgson is going to do because he finished last season playing a 4-4-2 and his two strikers were Wilfried Zaha and Andres Townsend. Two wingers, right?
Yep.
And it's
the double winger forward system.
A huge reason for that is because Christian Benteke was just completely ineffective consistently for them. So I don't know.
With some injury problems thrown in.
Yeah, I remember some games where he missed like 4 shots in a row and shot from the wrong time and didn't pass and made terrible decisions. And it felt like a person who was completely out of sorts, out of confidence. I don't know if a full preseason changes that and brings him back and brings back some of that confidence, or if he's bitter for not getting to go to the World Cup and isn't really feeling it.
I think if he's bitter, he's only got himself and maybe some injuries to blame, right? It's not Roy Hodgson's fault that Benteke didn't make the World Cup.
No, but I guess what I mean is, do you try to reincorporate Benteke and adjust what was more or less working last season? Do you go with Benteke and Zaha up top and move Townsend to the wing? Do you go with like a 4-3-3 and put Zaha and Townsend on the wing? That's going to be one of the things that will keep me watching Crystal Palace, is seeing what Hodgson is trying to do to get the best out of all of the parts he has.
All right, so this gets to style of play, right? Here's what Crystal Palace do. They do a very Roy Hodgson thing when defending of 4-4-2, essentially 2 banks of 4. Right, it's 2 banks of 4 defending. The 2 central midfielders, usually there's no super creative midfielder, right? It's 2 defensive midfielders. It's Milivojevic. Then this year he could be alongside Kouyaté, right? Milivojevic and Kouyaté, that's a pretty solid Crystal Palace style central midfield. And then quite often they'll go direct to Benteke. They have another big guy as well, a Norwegian guy whose name is Alexander Zorloff, 6'4", and that player will knock it down for someone like Wilfried Zaha, and then the attack starts from there.
That is what they did at times, but if you're not playing Benteke, then they didn't do that at all.
Yeah, then they do Zaha and Townsend.
The reason why I was chuckling is because you said the 2 central midfielders. They played 4 central midfielders pretty consistently last year.
Oh, I mean, but 2 of those guys played right mid, left mid, but they sort of were central midfielders by trade.
But that's what I'm saying is I think they're going to do that again. I think Kouyaté is going to come in and replace Ruben Loftus-Cheek. I think Max Meyer is going to come in and theoretically replace Johan Cabaye. And I think my feeling is that they're going to do the exact same thing, just with those 2 new faces.
Okay, I mean, that wouldn't be terrible, right? That at least provides some consistency.
And for people who are wondering, Max Meyer, formerly of Schalke, came on a free transfer. Yeah. And you might think nobody wanted him, so they got him on a free. The reality is he knows who he is, and he knows the hype around him. him. Whether or not he justifies that hype is a different conversation. But basically, he had massive wage demands.
He did.
And Palace were willing to meet those demands. Other clubs were not. That's why, even though it's a free, they're still ponying up some funds.
I still think of Max Meyer as well, playing at the Schalke Stadium with 60,000 people in his beautiful arena.
Yeah.
And I picture him getting to Selhurst Park, looking around and saying, like, all right, I like the training ground. Where's the Premier League stadium I'm supposed to be playing at?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, this is weird, right?
Vote is the Premier League
Why are we
stadium.
playing in the training ground? The one that they used to play in the 70s.
Oh, I've just had a memory flash about Max Meyer as well. Used to be an attacking midfielder, right?
Yeah.
Almost like a number 10 type guy. He got converted to more of a deep-lying central midfielder. That suggests he can bounce around anywhere in midfield. I wouldn't be surprised to see
Or
him.
that he left on a free means maybe not.
But I would suggest, I wouldn't be surprised if what you said comes true, where he ends up playing like left mid, but it's like a defensive left mid, but also you can join the attack kind of thing.
Yep.
That could work in the Roy Hodgson system.
Yeah, and I think, so then I wanted to say that, like, I have a feeling, as I said, that they're going to stick with that 4-4-2 and try to see what happens. But there's variables in there of when do you bring in Benteke? Is Max Meyer capable? Can you play Koyate wide? Does he have to come inside? If he has to come inside, who goes wide? Those are little questions. And here's where my prediction comes in. They basically have about as easy of a start to the season as you could want for a team like Crystal Palace. They're at Fulham, home to Liverpool. That's bad. Then at Watford, home to Southampton, at Huddersfield, home to Newcastle, at Bournemouth.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
That's not so bad.
Then their next 7 are Wolves at home, Everton away, Arsenal at home, Chelsea away, Spurs at home, Man United away, Burnley at home. So my prediction is that if Palace aren't in the top half of the table after their first 7 games, they'll be in the relegation zone after 13 games. Because I think you've got...
Sorry, say that one more time?
If they're not in the top half of the table after the first 7 games, those first 7 relatively easy games, they will be in the relegation zone after 14 games.
Interesting.
Because basically they have a few things that they need to figure out and they kind of need to work right away. And they've got this easy run of games to figure it out and get the results. But if they're not getting those results, they're certainly not going to get them against the stronger opposition because they're still going to be trying to figure stuff out.
Okay, that seems fair. That's a good prediction. Here's mine. Here's mine for Crystal Palace. I'm assuming that Wilfried Zaha stays, right? If Zaha stays, for the first time in his career, he will hit double digits in either goals or assists.
Has he never done that before?
No. So the last 2 years with Crystal Palace,
I did not know that.
last year he got 9 goals, 3 assists in the Premier League. Not bad, right? But no double digits. The year before, he got 7 goals and 9 assists. So he's never quite hit double digits, but I think he's really coming into his own, right?
I can't
So this is
believe
the
that.
year. He'll either get 10 goals or he'll get 10 assists. It wouldn't massively surprise me if he gets both. We haven't really dug into what makes Zaha such an exciting player, so I'd love to talk about it for
Let's
a
do
second
it.
to really open people's eyes to the joy that is watching Wilfried Zaha with a soccer ball.
Because my guarantee, not even a prediction, was that if Zaha goes, Palace will either be relegated or are already looking like they're going to be relegated, and thus he's sold in January.
That sounds
He is
fair.
that important because he is... I think I saw in one preview written that he was like born to be a winger, and I think that is correct.
That sounds right to me. But
he's-
he also comes inside as well and is really dangerous in a central area. So he
100%.
can do both. He's
He can.
dangerous wherever he gets the ball.
But he has that rare combination of like foot skills to get out of situations that he has no business getting out of, but not just in like 1v1 beats a man, but it's sort of it's like that, you know, that ball where it's like the ball's hit over the top and he's running towards the corner flag and he's got a defender on his back. Wilfried Zaha is an expert in defender running behind him at full speed, somehow like turning at 180 perfectly, bringing the ball with him, making the defender and being in on goal. Like how he pulls those moments of skill off, it's a combination of like awareness and intelligence combined with technical ability and that pace that you need to pull it off.
Here's my sort of most and least favourite thing at the same time about Zaha. You mentioned awareness, right? I see him running so much when he's doing these moves to beat people. He's looking down. It looks like he's one of those annoying players that looks down at the ball and doesn't look around. But then he'll draw people in and then he'll like play a pass with the outside of his foot and it'll go between 3 defenders and it'll catch this guy that was doing an overlapping run down the right that no one else knew was there.
Yeah.
And it's no accident. So somehow he's able to look like he's focused on just the ball, but he's able to see the whole field and spring a surprise pass at the same time. That makes him deadly dangerous.
I can venture a guess about why he's able to do that.
He has an eye in the top of his head.
That is absolutely
periscope.
it.
He has a periscope.
And we're done. You figured it out. No, I think it is... this is a great example, maybe one of my favorite examples of you hear the kind of, maybe it's a cliche, but he needs a team built around him and not to be like a member of just a team. And I think that was probably the problem when he went to Man United, is he was just kind of expected to be a plug and play. You do what this guy did before you and make sure you do it as well.
Yep.
I don't think that suits him. But if he's got a team where he is far and away the superstar goal scorer creator, then he is sort of allowed free reign to sort of do what he wants, and everybody is adapting to it. So if you've played with him enough to know, oh, he's going to cut inside, but then he's going to do a step over, try to beat this player, I'm going to make that overlapping run. He knows I'm going to make that overlapping run. I'm going to make it into space, and he's going to know where I am.
Yeah.
It's that sort of awareness, because I think he has the confidence built around him.
And this is a bit like the Pascal Gross thing we talked about with Brighton, right? I love having a player have a team like that built around him. If he goes to Tottenham or Chelsea or somewhere else, it's not quite going to be the same. It won't be all Zaha all the time.
It won't. And I don't think it will work as well. I really hope he doesn't do a Scott Sinclair. I hope he learns his lesson from his failed move and stays at Crystal Palace.
It was Man United briefly.
Or moves to a place, where he is definitely going to be the front and center focal point of the attack.
One final thing just to back up
Riyad Mahrez.
One final thing just to back up my idea that he'll get 10 goals or 10 assists. Christian Benteke, the horrible season he had last year, I think I don't have the stats in front of me, but I think he only scored 3 goals.
Yes.
Right? It's not good for a £35 million centre forward, right? He still led the league in aerial wins, like average aerial wins per game. He is still very useful to the Roy Hodgson system in terms of being an outball after they've been deep in those 2 banks of 4. Even if he's missing goals, he's still a useful cog in that machine to link things up. So I would say Benteke
I just can't wait for him to be sold tomorrow.
Right. Benteke can't be as bad as he was last season, goal scoring wise, right? He'd have to try pretty hard to be bad to do that.
Yeah.
I still think even if he doesn't have a great season, he'll still be useful as sort of a link-up player to service Wilfried Zaha.
Yep.
All right.
And I think one final thing with Zaha is worth noting that I think I'm correct in saying that under Frank de Boer, not only did they not win any of their first 7 games, I believe they didn't score a goal in those first games. So you think about Hodgson, maybe Zaha knocks in 1 or 2 goals in those 7 games, and there you go, you've got your double digits.
All right. Before we move on to Everton, ironically,
weird.
Today's show is sponsored by Liverpool jeans. Remember Liverpool jeans? They sponsored us during the World Cup.
Do I remember them? I'm wearing them.
You are wearing Liverpool jeans right now.
I wore them, I believe, in every appearance we had on tour, since they sent us several pairs. They're all very comfortable. They're all very relaxing at a time when I needed to be relaxed.
So I did the same.
Oh, yeah?
And I think this says a lot because when we were on tour, we did 8 dates, we were all very concerned. Actually, I don't know about the Cooligans, but in our hotel room, we were both very concerned about making sure we looked presentable, we looked good on stage. It is no coincidence that we ended up leaning very heavily on our Liverpool jeans to wear on stage.
Well, here's the embarrassing view behind the curtain. Is also the case that they sent us, 4 pairs, I think, each of the same color, though.
Yeah.
And then you and I seem to have similar tastes when it comes to collared shirts. So there were moments of like, oh, you're wearing the green ones with the red shirt? Huh. All right, I got to find something else.
We did some good rotation. We did some good rotation.
It's like, oh, you're wearing the grey ones with the black shirt? I guess I'll wear the black ones with a grey shirt.
But our ads throughout the World Cup, we made very clear that we thought that these are high-end jeans, like designer-style jeans, but available for under $100. It was a really, really good price, plus an extra 20% off with the discount code TSS,
there you go.
Which we'll mention. I think we really put our legs where our mouths were in terms
our
of
legs where our mouths were.
In terms of
that is terrific.
When push came to shove, we wore those jeans to look our best when we went out to do our show for the crowd.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they'll love this, but I'm going to say it anyway. They sent us a variety of sizes at first, right, to figure out which ones fit us the best.
Yeah.
The smallest ones fit neither of us, but they fit my brother. I texted him before we started recording. He loves them.
Yeah? All right.
Yeah, they fit, and he's a big fan.
We have another Liverpool jeans
We sure do.
fan. Well, we're also, as well as doing the 20% discount with the code TSS at liverpooljeans.com, we're also doing a giveaway.
Here we go.
We have 2 pairs to give away. Obviously, we'll fit your size when you tell us what it is. We're giving it away.
They're 28 by 38.
We're giving it away to the person who needs it the most.
Slenderman.
So here's what we're asking you to do. Christian Polanco is at 29.
Yeah, right. Oh, man.
The person who needs the jeans the most, what we're asking you to do is email us, contact@totalsoccershow.com, contact@totalsoccershow.com, or go to totalsoccershow.com/contact. Send us a picture of your worst denim jeans. It has to be you wearing them. They got to be the worst jeans you can find. We need someone who is in need of a fashion upgrade.
And we need a newspaper to make sure that they're of the appropriate date. No,
Yes.
I'm not kidding. I'm kidding.
I was going to go all in on that.
All right.
It's all online now.
Yeah.
So send us an email if
Wherever you find newspapers.
If you wearing jeans, show us that you need Liverpool
Yep.
jeans, and we will send 2 winners. Is a questionable phrase, but we'll send 2 winners pairs of Liverpool jeans in the size to fit.
If Jinkos are involved, you rocket to the top of the list in my mind. I just want that out there right away.
And if you want to buy right now, go to liverpooljeans.com, use the discount code TSS for 20% off. Thank you to Liverpool Jeans for sponsoring today's show.
And for providing us with many options on the road.
Yeah.
It is much, much appreciated.
All right, to Everton.
Yeah.
To Everton. What's new at Everton Football Club, Taylor?
Everything?
Everything.
It's
again.
a recurring theme.
Let me guess. Does their new coach like to press as well?
He does.
Welcome to the Premier League.
Shocker. Which new coach, by the way?
Marco Silva.
Oh, there's just been so many.
Yeah.
Marco Silva is their 4th permanent manager in 2 years, since Roberto Martinez in May of 2016.
Wow.
And then if you want to go with caretaker managers, 5th manager in that time period.
Good on you, David Unsworth.
Yeah, he did it twice. He did it twice.
So Marco Silva is the new coach. He is in at Everton. It's a whole new era. Also, interesting, I think, Marcel Brands is in as director of football. Did you read about this?
Did he come from Huddersfield?
He came from PSV.
Okay, my mistake.
I believe. Yeah, Marcel Brands is the new director of football. The reason I think this is
Pretty
interesting...
much the same thing, Huddersfield,
Yeah,
PSV.
very, very similar.
No, he definitely did, because they won like 3 league titles in a row or whatever, yeah.
With Marcel
There you
Brands,
go.
right? Here's the interesting thing. Do you remember when Everton hired Steve Walsh as director of football?
Yes.
So Steve Walsh was the guy credited with building that Leicester team, the Ranieri Leicester team with Vardy and Mahrez. Like, they thought, this guy has an eye for recruitment. Let's hire him, make him director of football at Everton. And then he went and recommended guys like David Klaassen, who Everton fans will know that did not really work out. That was
I think you can remove the really from that equation.
So Marcel Brands is the new guy, the new director of football, with Marco Silva as the new head coach. Here's what I want to talk about. Brands has been very vocal about the idea that the job right now is reduce the wage bill, lean on the youth team, lean into the academy, invest in the academy. That's interesting. And at the same time, Marco Silva is going to try and implement a new high-pressing, quick-passing style of football.
And I think he'll be able to with what the resources he has. But Everton and Chelsea, to some extent, are good reminders of how the transfer fee isn't the thing that kills you. It's the wages that get you. Because so many of these players, like they got rid of Wayne Rooney as well, let him go on a free.
He was on like 100 or 200,000 a week, right? That was a big deal to get rid of him.
Rooney and Klaassen combined was £250,000 a week. A week. Now multiply that out and realize how much money
$1 million
that
a
is
month.
hitting you every single month and how much money you could be putting towards other players. So they've gotten rid of those 2. Still 31 players on their roster currently.
Yeah.
So more trimming to be done for sure.
Okay, so Rooney out. Who's in at Everton along with Marco Silva? I have 2 names on my list. I don't know if you have more.
Who you got?
I've got Richarlison for £50 million. Richarlison from Watford, where he worked with Marco Silva last season.
Is it 50? I thought it was 40.
It's a lot. Let's put it that way.
Either way, they paid some money.
Tens of millions of pounds. So it's worth
And then
noting.
really, I don't care because it's their money. So whatever.
Exactly. Worth noting, Marco Silva was the Watford coach at the start of last season, was doing great, had them playing a really sort of attractive, high-energy style of soccer, and then he was fired halfway through the season. Essentially, not for results.
For having that head turned.
For having that head turned by Everton. So, fired halfway through, and he essentially had to wait out the latter half of the season before he could take the Everton job. So, if you're an Everton fan who's maybe not so familiar with the Silva situation, don't be thinking he's spoiled goods. He's just a guy that was fired for looking at Everton, basically. Yeah. This is a love story, if anything.
Sure. I will say, it is a thing that I used to love and have now completely flipped on when the new manager comes in and brings the key player from the old club.
Yeah, so that's Richarlison.
I feel like it doesn't work that often. That said, I was just singing the praises of Mauricio Sarri for bringing in Jorginho.
Yep.
So, whatever. But yeah, I don't think it's always the best because it implies like we're going to do the exact same thing and nobody else can do it as well as this player. And to some extent, you're going to have to move some people around. You're going to have to say, I guess Theo Walcott usually plays plays on the right.
Yeah,
But
it's Yannick Bolasie's going to be the victim here.
yeah, Yannick Bolasie will. And then on top of that, I know you mentioned too, there's Lucas Digne was the other signing.
He's the left back that's come in. So it's a whole new left side.
But the one that I don't know if it has gone through yet, but was very much believed to be happening today was Bernard, 25-year-old Brazilian left winger, right-footed, available on a free from Shakhtar, was supposed to be signing for Everton today.
Wait, but Richarlison is a right-footed left winger from Brazil who just signed for Everton.
So then the expectation was that Bernard would go to the right wing in a 4-2-3-1, which then means Theo Walcott, Ademola Lookman. Don't really know what the future holds for you.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. All right, can we put a pin in that for a second?
Sure.
Because that concerns me. I do think Richarlison's a good signing.
Yeah, me too.
Because I do think that when you go to a new team, you actually do need to bring a player with you who knows what you were doing before.
I'm really surprised. I thought we had talked about this before, that you weren't a big fan of this. So I'm interested to hear. So you think it's just the familiarity? You just need that?
I think having one player that can communicate to everybody else, hey, this is how we do it, can show by example, and then having one player that you trust to just do the thing, right? Because Richarlison, I want to talk about him for a second. I think he's a really exciting player. Like we said, left wing, right foot. He tends to start more to the interior, right? He's not like an on-the-touchline type winger. And then he'll drive at goal from there. I mean, I've seen so much footage of Richarlison laying the ball like a square ball to the back post, right, to set up someone with an assist. I think if you've got a guy that you know does that consistently, you've got the beginnings of building a team around a guy that you know can do a specific thing.
But the thing that he can do is get down the end line and then square the ball?
Yeah.
Like, I think...
It's easier said than done.
I guess, but I'm not...
I can't do that.
Well, yeah, you could. I think that's it. I think you've just kind of hit the nail on the head for me. And while I am excited for Richarlison, and I do enjoy what he does, I think the difference between him and a player like Jorginho is, I think if you're Sarri and you look at
Jorginho at
Chelsea, like you look at what he does, all of the kind of problems he solves just by playing in this one specific position, that then you have to go out and find a player who's capable of doing that, or find them on Chelsea. Maybe it makes more sense to bring in that player and just know that they can do that same role. You're going to play the same system.
You could also argue that maybe a central midfielder has more influence to impact how the whole team plays than a left winger. So I definitely see that argument.
But when you're bringing in that left winger, like, I don't know if maybe somebody else who's already on the Everton books couldn't do that as well or close to as well. And there is that feeling sometimes of, are you doing this because this player is indispensable, or are you doing this because you don't really back yourself 100% and you want somebody to be like, well, he made me good, so he's in there now, and now we'll be good.
It's just like a safety blanket.
I think so. Yeah. I don't know why, because again, I have no problem with Marco Silva.
Yeah.
I like Everton. I have nothing against them. There are warning signs here for me.
Well, let's talk about Lucas Digne then. So I also know that a hallmark of what Silva likes to do, what he did at Watford, what he's planning to do at Everton, literally he's told this to the press, is overlapping fullbacks, right? And so Leighton Baines, not a young man anymore, can hit across him, but he does not have the legs to go up and down and up and down. Getting Lucas Digne in there, he's very capable of being that overlapping fullback. So at the very least, the players that he's signing do fit his stated style of play.
All right.
So there's at least that not to be worried about if you're trying to be an optimistic Toffees fan.
Yeah.
Fair?
Yeah, sure. So, you can be optimistic about that. As we said, you can be optimistic about Wayne Rooney not being there anymore. Not to say that like Everton fans didn't enjoy Wayne Rooney, but just it's the same problem that people had with him at Man United. It's how do you fit him in?
Yeah.
And you got to move a lot of people around to make it work.
And eventually the question is, should we fit him in?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Same thing with Davy Klaassen, who was sold to Werder Bremen for $13.5 million.
I didn't know he'd gone.
He is on the way out.
All right. Good for him. I think he's a good player who deserves to play somewhere.
Yeah, I think so. Ramiro Funes Mori, Kevin Morales, and Ashley Williams all off the books as well.
On loan,
Morales
right?
and Williams on loan, yeah. But with that said, what that means is you've got a lot of space cleared up, or at least some space cleared up to sign players like, if it happens, Bernard. But the other thing is that it frees up space within the team, and that's where my prediction comes in.
Okay.
Because I think Gylfi Sigurdsson will at least double his goals and assists from last season.
Interesting. Okay, so in the Silva system, it's going to be a 4-3-3, right? We imagine...
I think I had it as a 4-2-3. Yes, 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3. They're the same thing.
They're the same thing. That Gylfi Sigurdsson will get to play as the central attacking midfielder in a 4-3-3 or a 4-2-3-1. This could be perfect for Gylfi.
I think it will be.
Yeah.
I think it's what he's been getting reassurances as other names have been rumored that he is definitely going to be their number 10.
You're the man, Gylfi.
Marco Silva has said that himself. In fact, he confirmed it was a 4-3-3. I forgot about that. He definitely said in his introductory press conference, we're going to play a 4-3-3. But I think it's going to be Gylfi Sigurdsson front and center running that attack, linking that attack whenever it's possible.
Here are the keys. Just give Gylfi the keys.
And not here the keys, but Rooney's got a pair and Klaassen has a pair. Do the best you can, but if you can't do it, then they'll come in and drive the car. So I think it's going to be all about him.
What was your statistical prediction?
So I think he'll at least double both goals and assists. And
what did he have last year?
It's not that bold of a statement. Prior to last season, he was averaging 7 to 11 goals a year and around 8 assists a season.
Those
last year,
Swansea numbers.
Yeah. Last season, 4 goals and 3 assists.
Yeah.
So I think he'll get right back to around his average of, I'm going to say around 8 goals and around 6 to 8 assists.
So he will revert to the mean.
I think so.
I believe the statisticians say.
Exactly.
So that 4-3-3, Silva has said attacking fullbacks and attacking midfielder. He's also said the number 6 is very important. Did we read the same story?
We did,
Liverpool
and I'm confused by who he thinks it will be.
I was expecting the next line to be Idrissa Gana Gueye.
As was I.
He said Morgan Schneiderlin.
He did.
But I do think that's fair. I think maybe the more I thought about it, Idrissa Gana Gueye is a bit more of a destroyer, whereas Morgan Schneiderlin is a bit more of a regista type guy who can do at least a little bit of destroying. Right? So I think Schneiderlin at the base of that midfield, so he's the 6, maybe Idrissa Gana Gueye is the number 8, then maybe Gylfi Sigurdsson is the number 10. That is a midfield that makes sense to me. Each player has specific strengths that all complement each other. Then fingers crossed that my friend Tom Davies gets to have a run out in at least one of the other spots.
I'd be all right with that.
Yeah.
I'm with you though that the Morgan Schneiderlin thing was surprising to me. Yeah, I read that article too, and then it made me once again get back on board with Marco Silva because that is the thing I'm talking about of taking Morgan Schneiderlin, a player who had lots of success at Southampton, fell off a little bit at Man United, didn't have a great season last year, but to suddenly see him and see what he's done in training in preseason and think that's my number 6, I'm going to build around him. Yep. That's the hallmark of what, say, Guardiola has been able to do with some of the people at Man City.
There you go. All right, so I like the look of that Everton midfield. Bit more on the Silva style of play.
Sure.
I've heard a lot of high pressing, so apparently Richarlison very good at that as well. He's very energetic, will charge people down, but also they love to switch the side. So that you will see a lot this year of Everton passing the ball on the floor, but then suddenly going from all the way left, all the way right, absolutely switch the field and attack you down the other side. That could be beautiful for someone like Theo Walcott. If he has a good bit of space to run into.
Or Bernard.
Assuming he plays it, or Bernard.
Or Ademola Lookman.
I looked at the schematics of Bernard and it doesn't look like anything to me. That's a good Westworld joke if you watch the show. No?
I'm just going to let you sit in that for a minute.
Hey, someone right now is laughing.
Yes, the 9 people who still watch Westworld this season are all laughing, I'm sure.
I didn't say I enjoyed it.
Actually, they're not laughing because they're not listening. They're too busy trying to figure out what is happening in Westworld.
The problem. Yeah. The big problem.
I'm not going to lie, I also got thrown off. I thought you went St. Bernard at first because that's the Bernard joke that I was ready for.
The big problem with this Everton style of play, the pressing, means a high line. That means you need mobile, athletic centre-backs. Instead, they have Phil Jagielka, who is getting up there in years, right? Michael Keane, who is a young man, but has never been particularly quick, as I understand it, right? A lot of his success at Burnley was based on that Burnley sit-in-deep type system. So I'm a little worried for Everton centre-backs. I think Marco Silva and Marcel Brands are too, because every day I see Everton linked with a new centre-back. Yeah. I've seen Yerry Mina, I've seen Chris Smalling, I've seen Victor Lindelof. There's one more.
Rojo.
Marcus Rojo. I thought
just
that was
Man United,
happen.
basically.
We'll take any spare Man United defenders. Have you got any spare defenders?
The Everton Man United connection continues.
Please send them out in. Ashley Williams, if he'd stayed, he's not a young man anymore. We haven't seen him cover much ground lately, so he was never going to fit. They don't really have a mobile centre-back. The only youngster I can think of is Mason Holgate. Yep. Apparently, he's injured. He hasn't really been able to play much in pre-season. They better make that sign-in sometime before Saturday.
I think...
well, actually, no, don't, because they're playing Wolves.
Yeah,
they can wait.
Well, they can't, though. So I'm with you. I think that's one that I would expect to have to update at one point in these previews before the season starts is they have gone out and gotten on loan or permanently another centre-back.
I would bet by the time we do tomorrow's show, we'll have to start with here's who Everton signed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that would be the worst thing for them because it means they went out and did something.
Yeah.
Because if Chelsea...
Jamal Lascelles, the Newcastle, 24-year-old Newcastle centre-back and sometimes captain, is another one that's been linked. That might be a good fit.
Poor Rafa Benitez. But I would say, I mean, as we already talked about, Chelsea looking for 1-2. Like a centre-back who can keep a high line, is very fast and very technical. That's basically what Silva's going to be wanting. So I think if Everton can find one, you throw that money and you get that job done quick.
I wonder if that's Silva's problem, is that Chelsea are always in there for any player that he wants and the price goes up and the wage goes up. And then Marcel Brands says, no, sorry, that's too much. We're trying to reduce the wage bill. Uh-oh. We haven't talked about centre-forwards.
Yeah.
I want to get to my prediction.
It's because they have one.
They have many, but none that are all that sort of eye-catching, right? Lukaku was gone 2 years ago. Rooney went last year. They're essentially left with Cenk Tosun was the guy they spent a lot of money on, Turkish centre-forward. Omer Niasse was the guy that was very much in and out of favour. I'm not sure what the love-hate thing was with Sam Allardyce. Sandro Ramirez, they got from Barcelona, but no one's fully in love with. I'm putting all my hopes into Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
Really?
Dominic Calvert-Lewin. He's another year older. He's a big guy. He's 6'2". He's pretty quick. He's pretty smart. He can dribble in from the wings. He's very mobile. I really like Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I'm predicting he, 1, mostly starts for Everton. 2, gets his first England cap. Okay. I think Southgate will be looking for new strikers in the new cycle. I think Dominic Calvert-Lewin gets a go.
So we disagree on this one because I think Cenk Tosun is going to start the season, and I think he'll fit the system pretty well.
Okay.
Coming from Besiktas, it's a pretty frenetic team. So I'm going to categorize them when Quaresma is in there. It's always a little all over the place. I think that was where he thrived, and I think getting back to that kind of high pressure, high intensity system, going against what Sam Allardyce did, I think Cenk Tosun will start, and I think he'll shine.
Is he a presser? Because the thing I like about Calvert-Lewin is he seems willing to run and press.
I think Tosun is willing to run. I can't speak with any certainty about how good he is in implementing a press. I can say that I have seen him do a lot of running, chasing people down in the Turkish Super League.
All right.
Does that translate? I don't know. I do think you're right.
We're drawing a line across the table here then. I'm team Dominic Calvert-Lewin and you're team Cenk Tosun. It goes back to our...
I got no love for Cenk.
It goes to both of our other countries, right? Your other country's Turkey, my other country is England.
Not according to my ancestry results.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But I would like to see Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
But maybe according to your beard.
Yeah, that could be. Well, no, I wasn't allowed to grow a beard, lest you forget.
Oh, that was pre the current regime.
Yeah. But I think you're right, though. I think those will be the two front runners, no pun intended, for that position.
Should have.
And I think, no, I refuse. And I think you're right that Dominic Calvert-Lewin, if nothing else, I bet he does get a cap this season.
There we go. All right. Team Dominic Calvert-Lewin.
I don't think Cenk Tosun will get one for England, though. No. Controversial opinion.
Be very surprised.
Yeah.
Anything else to add on Everton before we move on?
Nope.
All right. Well, before we move on to Fulham, I know we'll have a lot of people interested in Fulham, a lot of American fans.
Rightfully so.
Are big Fulham fans. We want to update you on the GoFundMe campaign that we we promoted yesterday. The GoFundMe campaign was to get a friend of ours had a family member that needed to raise money to get a bed at the Healing Place, the residential drug and alcohol recovery centre. We are very excited to say thank you to every TSS listener who donated. We hit the goal, 30 minutes before we started recording this show. $2,500 was raised. This young man will have a chance at recovery thanks to everybody who donated to the GoFundMe.
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing this show for 9 years now, over 9 years. We've done events in Philly. We did this tour. We did All-Star Game. We've had lots of great guests on. This is legitimately one of my 5 proudest moments doing TSS. Is just seeing how responsive our listener community, Twitter community, social media, whatever, is, and just how kind of willing to help people are at a time when I don't think that is the narrative publicly in the news a lot of the time. It feels like what we hear is a lot of stuff designed to make us scared and drive us apart. So to just remember that there are lots of good people out there who want to do good for others, it's a very good lesson to remember, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And I don't think we can name names because there were literally too many. Yeah. But we were checking this page every 30 minutes while I was doing my Premier League research. I kept seeing familiar Total Soccer Show listener names. So you know who you are if you donated. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts for donating to the GoFundMe.
Yes, I agree wholeheartedly, and thank you again. And we have our first street soccer practice tonight as well.
Oh, yeah, we do.
It all kind of fits together.
Yeah, okay. Up next.
Yes, next, Fulham.
Fulham Football Club.
Indeed. I have sort of subheaders for every single team. I don't know why I started doing that. Everton's was, I guess they got their man. Fulham's is just, I love Fulham. I love Fulham.
Why you love Fulham?
I just found myself saying that over and over because I forgot how wonderful Fulham are and just how, like, I mean, I'm aware that they're they're the team of Hugh Grant, and that's not representative of who their fan base is, but it's still, they're just so wonderful, and the American connection and everything else.
Yeah.
But also,
there's something very charming about, Craven Cottage. For those who don't know, Craven Cottage, the name of the stadium, there's also literally a cottage in the middle of the stadium that serves as you can watch the game from there. It's a very odd setting.
And if you're new, who's the bar named after, Dale?
Oh, Brian McBride.
Yep.
McBride's Bar. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Fulham America. Fulham has a long history of having Americans play there, a history that will continue this coming year with Tim Ream playing centre-back for Fulham.
We hope.
No, fans love him. The whole
he was
thing
the player of the year last season.
Ream. Yeah, Tim Ream. Big.
I'm just saying they've made some signings. That's all I'm saying.
You're thinking of Alfie Mawson?
And yeah, maybe. To that point, maybe we should start there.
Yeah.
Because that has been sort of the narrative for me. In fact, my prediction for Fulham is just that they will get the best grade possible by most papers or websites when giving out their transfer market grades.
Before the season starts or after they've seen these players play?
Like at the end of the window, like when you get that sort of weekend, like Monday morning.
Friday morning.
Maybe, I guess Friday morning is when it closes, right?
I think so.
Either Friday morning or Monday, when they've had the weekend to digest, you're going to get all those, like, who won the transfer market, who got the best grade. I think Fulham are going to be up there.
All right, let's do the list then.
Sure.
Alfie Mawson.
Yep.
Really good English centre-back who probably will compete with Tim Ream for a spot because they're both left-footed. They're both good at playing the ball out of the back. That's going to be a little concerning.
I think the expectation when I wrote my notes was that it would be Alfie Mawson and Tim Ream starting as your centre backs.
It could be. You could have two left-footed centre-backs. It's not impossible.
No, it could not. It's not at all. And again, £16.8 million. That's a good price for a player who, was in the provisional roster for England?
Yep.
Was in there in consideration.
And impressed on a bad team.
Yeah. And I think
Swansea, not England.
Yeah, exactly. But then came the news today that Callum Chambers agreed to a season-long loan.
I saw that.
So that's the one where I'm suddenly like, oh, that's three good centre-backs, and they're not going to play three in the back.
Chambers could play right back as well, maybe, to replace Ryan Frederick. So there's that. All right, but we haven't even got to the most exciting names.
Okay.
Jean-Michael Sarri. Jean-Michael Sarri, £30 million from, I believe, Nice in Ligue 1. Oh, Taylor, I have watched some footage of Sarri. I'm surprised he's gone to Fulham, and I mean that as a compliment. I think he could have gone to a much, much bigger team.
Are you sorry to say that to Fulham fans? There you go. There's one for you.
I loved it. I loved it. This guy is energetic.
I can't believe it actually made you laugh. All right, go ahead.
Energetic.
Yeah.
All over the place.
Uh-huh.
He is what I would call a clever connector. Like, he finds a way to keep the passing moving. You know what I'm saying? Like, no matter what angle he receives the ball at, he's able to receive, turn, and play the ball to someone else in any situation.
Yeah.
And that is perfect for Fulham's style of play. We'll maybe get more to that later. But I think
go ahead. Let's talk about it now. Why not?
Well, do you remember yesterday we talked about Bournemouth?
Yep.
And Bournemouth essentially like to keep the ball on the floor, move it around quickly, do it fast enough that they open up space on the wings, and then they get their wingers in behind, and then the ball comes in either high or low.
Yep.
Fulham, basically the same.
Yep.
Also with a nice high press they got going on, because I guess that's the fashion in the Premier League now. Fulham basically do the same thing as Bournemouth. I would argue with better personnel.
Yep.
With higher quality personnel.
I would agree with that.
And Sarri fits perfectly.
Which is shocking to say about a team that was promoted out of the championship playoffs.
Oh, worth noting. Okay, so last year...
Worth noting that I hate U.S. soccer. I just want to throw that out there real fast. Go ahead.
Tim Ream didn't get enough minutes.
I mean, yeah, I'll talk about Tim Ream in a sec.
Even though they were the third team promoted and they came up through the playoffs, there's an argument that for a good stretch of last season, Fulham were the best team in the championship.
Yep.
Like, literally, they went on this 23-match unbeaten run in which they beat Wolves, who, finished top. If it wasn't for a horrible start to the season, Fulham might have been the Wolves, the dominant team. That's how good they are. And they just didn't quite make the top two because they didn't pick up enough points in the first half of the season.
And even then, I think it was like a draw on the final day doomed them to the playoffs, right?
They nearly
Something
made
like
the
that?
top two after a disastrous start.
Yep.
So how about that? But we're not done with the signings.
No, well, but I just wanted to say a couple quick things about how they play. Slavica Jokanovic. I don't know, he's Serbian.
He sounded Japanese on the second one.
Yeah, Jokanovic.
How about Jokanovic?
Sure, there we go. Serbian manager, which makes sense. Then you have the connection with Mitrovic, who they did finally sign on a permanent transfer.
More on him later.
Possession-based system, and a key part, this is why I was so frustrated, a key part of the possession-based system is building out of the back through Tim Ream, who he identified as like the key ball-playing center-back he needed. Where was that, U.S. Soccer? Nobody thought to maybe use him as a ball-playing center-back? Oh, that's fun.
Yep.
That's fun. I'm sad again. But yeah, possession-based system, building out of the back, high press, and that front three. It's a lot of running for that front three, which is why I think the signing that they made, the other one, Mitrovic, on a permanent deal, is so important.
So for those who don't know, Alexander Mitrovic, who was Serbia's centre-forward at the World Cup, I'm pretty confident he scored at the World Cup. They got him on loan in January of last year. This is where things turned around for Fulham in the Championship last year. Mitrovic, on loan from Newcastle, scored 12 goals in half a season, absolutely led them to promotion. They signed him permanently this summer. Great move for them because it's a guy you're familiar with. You know he works in your system. You know he wants to play in the Premier League. Mitrovic is ready to go. You got to watch out for him. Mitrovic is a fighter. He will scrap for every ball in the air, on the floor, whatever. He will fight you for it. But then when he receives it, he's got some nice technical skills and a great finish as well. Also really good in the air. He hangs in the air like Michael Jordan, but instead of using his hands like Jordan, he uses his head. Score a load of headers. Look out for Alexander Mitrovic.
And he's another one who I was sort of really, like, again, it made me be like, I love Fulham because £20 million for him, who, like, it was a proven entity for them last season. Newcastle were fully aware that Fulham very much wanted this player and needed this player. And a lot of the articles I read before Mitrovic was signed was, look, there's no way we're going to be able to get him. They're going to want too much money. They know we need him. We've got to go look out for other options. And instead, they somehow get him for $20 million at a time when a goalkeeper's being purchased for $71 million. Just throwing that out there.
But I didn't really think of the price as being so low, but it is, right?
I mean, Sarri for $30 million was their most expensive. Mitrovic 20, Mawson 16.8. Everybody after that is single digits. And that, again, is impressive to me because, including Callum Chambers, 7 signings by my count, I'd say at least 6 of them will be starting for Fulham.
We haven't even mentioned the most famous one. Andre Schurrle. Andre Schurrle, I believe on loan from Borussia Dortmund. Schurrle,
2-year loan.
2-year loan, Andre Schurrle, World Cup winner, to Fulham Football Club. So I think...
And this is not... And I just want to... Sorry, I'm interrupting you.
Yeah, it's fine.
27. He's 27 years old. I was sure it was like, 32 years old at the end of his career. That makes sense.
Well, he does have a history of injuries.
True.
Right? But if you can get him on loan, probably not have to pay too much money, then it's not such a gamble to put him in your squad, right? With all that experience, all that nous, he's going to be part of the press. He's done plenty pressing at Dortmund. He'll probably play on the right wing and really offer something from there. We got an email from Will Hurson, Fulham fan. He basically says, I can't remember the names of the other Fulham right wingers.
Kamara, I think, was the main one from last season.
Schurrle was a big upgrade, put it that way.
I mean, and
none of those other guys won World Cups.
I believe they did not. I believe I'm correct in saying that Schurrle started his career, or at least started his career with Chelsea by playing as an inverted winger, and that was sort of where he made his bones. He is a natural left winger, but is more than comfortable playing on the right.
Yes.
And so I think we'll be happy to do that, cutting inside, getting those shots off. That's a really good front three for a team that's just been promoted.
So we haven't even said his name yet, but the front three will be Mitrovic in the centre.
Oh, have we not even talked about Sessegnon?
Andre Schurrle on the right and Ryan Sessegnon on the left.
Oh, that should be
teenager.
That should be written in 50-point font.
Yeah, because if you're surfing around the channels and see Fulham come on and you think, should I bother watching this game or not with Fulham in it? The answer is yes, because you've got to keep your eyes on Ryan Sessegnon.
Yeah, you do.
Young, I think he's 18 now, English teenage winger, converted from a left back. He was a pretty good left back. Fulham moved him to the left wing, and he decided to tear the Championship apart.
And one of the things I read about why that front three press is so effective is because, as you said, Mitrovic fights for everything and harasses you and puts you under pressure. And Sessegnon is good at doing that as well, but is also so fast that if he sees that sort of vulnerability coming about, if he sees, Mitrovic has made him take a heavy touch, he can close that gap so fast that as soon as that player thinks, I've gotten away from Mitrovic, the ball's been taken away by Sessegnon. And it's that 1-2 punch between those two in the press that really causes problems down the left side.
He also, in my opinion, Sessegnon has quite the left foot for a young player. You know how some players you think they're sort of still working on their crossing and their shooting and all that kind of stuff? When I see Sessegnon shoot, it looks like he knows exactly what... He can place it in the corners. He can place crosses on Mitrovic's head. He can play low balls with his left foot coming in. I think it's really dangerous. This comes to my prediction. Next season, I think between Mitrovic and Sessegnon...
I mean this coming season, right?
This coming season, sorry, next season, 2 days away.
I was like, what?
Between Mitrovic and Sessegnon, they will get 20 goals between them. I don't care what the combination is. Mitrovic could get 19 and Sessegnon get 1, or the other way around. They are getting 20 goals between them.
I think that's a solid bet.
It's such a good link up. All the things you just said, like Mitrovic pressure, like with Sessegnon coming in as the really rapid second wave that can really poke holes that Mitrovic has opened up a little bit. Sessegnon crossing from Mitrovic's head. All those combinations. I think 20 goals when you put their numbers together next season.
Well, even just Sessegnon having that sort of remember when Leroy Sané was there was like a good month-long period where he was basically unplayable.
Yeah.
And he was just so fast and technical that he would get 2 and 3 defenders sort of paying attention to him, and then he would just square to somebody who was wide open in the box.
I think it's either naivete on the player's part and like enthusiasm and energy just from like, oh, I'm in the Premier League.
Yeah.
Maybe coupled with the unfamiliarity that defenders have with that player, I think leads to a spell where you're impossible to tackle. Maybe 20 games in, someone has scouted Ryan Sessegnon and is like, all right, when he drops his right shoulder, we know that he's going left. So you can start cheating and tackling him. But to begin with, I think he's going to cause trouble for people.
I think it's going to lead to a lot of like Mitrovic just standing there tapping the ball in from 6 yards out. Basically, I think you're going to see a lot of goals that lead to celebrations where they just point at each other. You know?
That's a good prediction. Lots of Mitrovic and Sessegnon pointing.
I think so. I did want to say just a quick other word about the remaining signings. Fabri, 30-year-old goalkeeper signed from Besiktas, is expected to either challenge or start over Marcos Bettinelli.
Right.
I'm sure I'm butchering that one. So you've brought in a goalkeeper with the experience, with Champions League experience, no less, who I think could likely become a starter. And then Maxime Le Marchand from Nice, another one from Nice, I think will become the starter at left back because Matt Targett's loan expired. They couldn't get him back from Southampton.
It sounds like we're really talking Fulham up as if they're going to win the Premier League, right? They're not.
No.
But they're going to play nice football and they'll be pretty good. But they do still have some problems. One of the problems is that their starting fullbacks from the team that got them promoted from the Championship were Ryan Fredericks and Matt Targett.
Yep.
Matt Targett was on loan from Southampton. He's not coming back. Southampton are keeping him. Ryan Fredericks left at the end of the season to join West Ham. And best we can tell, and they were important, right? Because Fredericks was like an overlapping fullback that would join the attack, really a big part of what Jokanovic likes to do. As far as we could tell, talking before recording, basically Fredericks signed a pre-contract with West Ham because his contract was running out when Fulham were terrible. So it was like December, January 2017-18. I don't think he knew that Fulham were going to the Premier League. I'll bet he has all kinds of regret right now.
Yeah, I mean, I guess at least he knows with West Ham he's more likely to stay up. Then again, West Ham have been relegated themselves. You never know.
Yeah.
I don't know. More on West Ham. Those last 2 previews, I think, might be even longer than our first 2 combined.
So, but my point on this is that it's going to be new fullbacks for Fulham. The fullbacks may not be as good as the ones they had last season. Like Le Marchand, I know nothing about him. Can't tell you if they're going to be any good or not. Will you give me one final point on Fulham?
Absolutely, yeah.
Scottish people, look out for Fulham's midfield. So you got Jean-Michel Sarri, obviously not Scottish, but the other 2 guys in there will be Tom Kearney, the guy that scored the goal to win them the Championship final playoff.
Cairney, Kearney?
Correct.
There we go.
And Kevin McDonald. Really good Scottish passing midfielders. So they'll be bringing the Scottish game in the 60s used to be known for passing, like great passing midfielders. Kenny and McDonald could be bringing that back to the Premier League.
I have an ignorant question.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm going to go ahead and make it public right now. So one of the things I learned at an early age, I think because I was taught by a Scot and an Irishman, was that...
Let me guess, John Roach and Dennis Violet.
No. Dennis Violet was Richmond Quakers coach. Colin Clark.
Oh, okay.
But I'd always heard that it was like McDonald, like MCD, was Irish and MacDonald was Scottish. So then we've got a McDonald here who's Scottish. So have I just been lied to by my U12 coaches?
It's never 100% consistent.
All right.
Right?
I'm going to assume I've been lied to.
Don't generalize.
My entire soccer career has been a lie.
Don't generalize, and things can be 2 things.
Right,
that's what
fair.
I'm going to say to you and to Colin Clark.
Stuff can be another thing, as Alexis is fond of saying.
There we go.
There you go.
So, Scottish people, look out for your midfielders. They'll be at Fulham.
Aye.
Final team?
I helped. Yes.
Final team is the team of Pavlos. It's Huddersfield.
Yeah.
Huddersfield Town.
And I'm going to give us an easy out here and say that we've just arbitrarily decided that in each group that we preview, there's going to be at least one team that we think is a relegation candidate. I'm thinking it's Huddersfield.
Yeah, I don't think
Cardiff yesterday, Huddersfield today.
I think because they haven't significantly improved the team. They only finished 16th last season, and the quality of teams coming up, like, say, Fulham and Wolves, I specifically didn't mention Cardiff, is such. I think it could be tough for Huddersfield. I also think, didn't they start last season with a bang? Like, people weren't ready for the David Wagner press, and I think it was very exciting. And I really think they gained enough points in the early half of the season, and then not coasted, but essentially survived on those early points throughout the rest of the season. The big telling stat is they finished 16th, so 2 points above relegation. They scored only 28 goals in 38 games. I don't have a calculator, but that is much less than a goal per game.
Yeah.
That's a worry.
And failed to score in 21 of 38 as well.
That's even worse.
That's very bad. So we can get to that stat in a second because it factors into my prediction. But I would say, looking at what Huddersfield, the thing that stands out for me from our previews last year was we were both sort of praising the fact that a lot of times when promoted teams come up, they bring in new players. They want Premier League experience. They get the guy who's they get Joey Barton because he's been there, right? Huddersfield didn't do that. They stuck with their squad. They brought in a few championship players that they had played against that they knew that they felt could better augment their system.
Yep, they kept Aaron Moy.
And while they've done 8 signings at time of recording, or at least when we started recording, maybe there have been more, but it's that still sort of the same pattern that they're not blowing their budget. I think the biggest one was Terence Kongolo, £20 million from Monaco, but he was there last season. He was on loan. 3 of their 8 signings were players that were on loan last year that they've basically paid to have there on a permanent basis. Yeah. And that's good business, but it's sticking with that model of we're not going to blow it up, we're not going to change things around, we're not bring in a big-name striker to make sure that we get some goals. It's sort of sticking with what worked, barely worked.
Are you thinking that might work to do that, or are you thinking they should have gone bolder?
I'm thinking it's basically the thing that I keep going back to with Huddersfield is that I don't see anything in there that makes me feel like, oh, this is going to be Derby County, a terrible team. And I also don't see much in there that makes me think that they won't be, at best, battling for 17th place.
Yeah.
So it's sort of that in-between thing where I'm not surprised by anything they're doing, and I would be surprised if they had gone out and brought in a big-name striker. So I don't think that's wrong what they've done, but it just feels sort of more like, yeah, they're kind of doing what they do, and we're going to see that exact same team this season with maybe better options in a few spots.
So we're not saying guaranteed relegation,
no,
but we're saying guaranteed relegation battle.
Yes.
How about that? They'll be in the fight. All right, can we talk about the new signings?
Sure.
So the way I see it is essentially David Wagner felt that he needed an upgrade on the wings.
Yep.
And then he's gone out and signed a bunch of wingers.
Pretty much. Yep.
It's a grab bag of wingers, right? Ramadan Sobhi, the Egyptian winger, has come in from Stoke City. I saw highlights of him that looked good. Mm-hmm. I didn't see much from him at Stoke last year. No. So I see him as a guy who's had a year in the Premier League, but an unsuccessful year in the Premier League. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But again, signed for £6.5 million as a 21-year-old winger. It means that Stoke were just trying to get rid. Mm-hmm. It means that Huddersfield saw some things in him that they thought they could utilize.
Yep.
And I think the biggest thing that I read was about how Huddersfield had this idea of this like kind of intense pressing, but then dropping off, but then pressing again, and too often became everybody drop off and play really defensive, and did that well, but as a result, it was 9 behind the ball plus the goalkeeper equals 1 player standing up top, usually Steve Mooney, or Mounier, however you want to pronounce that, standing by himself doing the best he could. And it seems like a lot of these the winger signings were meant to be ways to effectively alleviate that single pressure.
And that's fair. Just to complete the list, Adama Diakabi, the winger they signed, and Abdelhamid Sabiri, a winger they actually signed in January last year, but I think he'll be maybe more integrated into the squad this year. I would argue that just upgrading the wingers doesn't necessarily change the Steve Mooney problem.
No.
I think that having the 9-10 men behind the ball is the problem, and you could have Jorginho and George Best as your wingers. If you're asking them to start deep, it's going to be very hard for them to connect to the centre forward.
The only thing that I would say to that is that at least from, I think it was the Guardian preview, was talking about how the wingers they had last season, specifically Tom Ince, who has been sold, didn't do... Basically, were so focused on doing the one job, either attacking or defending, that they weren't very good at doing both. And so when they were defending, when that ball would be cleared, it was sort of like, okay, I'll get my defensive shape down and wait for the next attack.
I see.
And it wasn't sort of, now's my chance, everybody spring forward, let's pounce and let's get some counterattacking goals. And maybe that's what Sobhi and Diakabi are meant to be doing.
Okay, that'll be interesting when the season starts then. I'll be honest, I would have preferred if... I'm going to say this and know that it's wrong. I would have preferred if David Wagner had just gone for the Huddersfield press, the Dortmund-style press, right? Because he came through Dortmund the whole season. Maybe that ends in relegation, but it would have meant fewer games that were sort of low-scoring and tough to watch.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think... It also would work because it's a different thing. That once Huddersfield, to your point, that like once they got figured out a little bit, teams kind of knew how to deal with them and knew what to expect. If you do that same system, but then every third game you're suddenly this explosive pressing team, even if you lose 3-0, occasionally you're going to catch a team and cause problems. And I think it might be worth it to sort of still try to do that at intermittent possibilities.
So here's what I'm going to have an eye on. Are Huddersfield just going to be press at home, sit deep away?
Yeah.
Or will they mix it up a bit more where every time they go into a game, it's almost like flip a coin and you don't know They're going to be like Two-Face. I mean, you don't know what you're going to get.
I don't know, but I think it's probably more of the first thing you mentioned. It will be trying some stuff at home because that's what teams do, being defensive on the road because that's what teams do.
Do you have a prediction?
I do. It's that basically, where did my prediction go? Oh, they will score at least 29 goals this season, but they might get relegated. So the key thing being that I think they will get more goals, but I also don't know. I mean, they scored so few goals that I don't know if scoring more goals necessarily is the thing that's going to help them. They're going to need to score a lot more and find ways to do that.
Your benchmark as well is Steve Mooney scored 7 goals last year as the centre forward. So you would hope that he scores more. But you can also see a player like him having 9 goals in a season and being on a relegated team, right? 9 goals is 10 goals is a relegated team centre forward total.
It is.
My prediction is that Sir Patrick Stewart will be at fewer Huddersfield Town games this season than he was last season. Not least because he just announced that deal. He's going to make a new Jean-Luc Picard show for CBS.
What more could you need?
There you go.
It's a good way to distract himself. My final thing I had on Huddersfield was just going back to it. 8 signings, 3 were loanees that became permanent. 2 were goalkeepers, which means they want to try to strengthen there and see what else is out there. But then they made other additions like Eric Durm, for example, who we haven't talked about. 26-year-old German right back from Dortmund on a free, was in that 2014 World Cup squad.
Yeah.
Like they've brought
He's had some injury problems as well, right?
It's fine. He's a World Cup winner. It's fine. It counts. But so they've kind of brought in...
It's a very Schurrle signing.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, they brought in players they knew could get the job done that did it last season, but then they're also bringing in reinforcements who can challenge those players.
Oh, Wagner must know Durm as well from his time at Dortmund.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly, of course. So just those little moments, again, I think are very smart. They're not like headline making, they're not groundbreaking, but they're smart ways to operate when you're on a budget, as Huddersfield are.
Here's the thing I don't know a lot about. But I take the fact they haven't signed any big-name centre-backs to mean that they're very happy with the Jorgensen-Schindler partnership at centre-back. And David Wagner just looked at that and was like, yeah, that works. Let's keep doing that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Am I wrong? I don't think they haven't like spent 20 million on a centre-back anyway.
I mean, they literally spent 20 million on a centre-back in Congolo, but he was the one who was there last season.
Oh, I see.
So,
okay. And he also can play fullback, right?
Exactly.
So he adds to the whole...
Yeah, I think was a fullback for them, yes. So there you go.
Anything else to add on Huddersfield?
I about made you panic there, didn't I,
you
for
did.
a second?
Yeah, you did.
No, actually, nothing to add on Huddersfield. One thing I forgot to mention with Fulham is that they did sign their replacement right back in January of last winter. Cyrus Christie will be the other one deputizing for the departed Fredericks.
Okay. Oh, yeah, sorry. Fulham. That's
Fulham.
So we're good. We have previewed Chelsea, Crystal Palace, Everton, Fulham, and Huddersfield. We'll be back tomorrow with... I actually don't know the alphabet off the top of my head, but I'm going to guess that we are getting towards L for Liverpool.
I think you skipped Leicester.
Leicester City, Liverpool, Manchester City, Manchester United, and Newcastle United.
You got it. There's your
Leicester,
5.
Liverpool, both the Manchester teams, and Newcastle.
Yep.
That's a big day. That's a glamorous day.
And I may be totally wrong, but I think the final day is 1 T and 4 Ws.
One of them being Wolves.
It's something like that.
Final thing on today's show, the Total Soccer Show Scouting Network.
Yes, sir.
Let's be honest, we have not done a good job of doing scouting reports while we were on the road. We didn't do a good job of sleeping or doing anything that wasn't doing the shows and being on the road.
Yeah. I've slept a lot and I still feel tired.
Same. But we have scouting reports to catch up on. Are you ready, Taylor? Would you like to get us started?
I am. I want to add, though, we have so many to catch up on that... A lot of these are going to be abbreviated from their original form, so I don't want people to take offense, but I will say we really appreciate all of the reports. Once we catch up, then we'll be much more steady.
Oh, for like a time squeeze, you've got a couple of weeks of reports into one.
A little bit.
All right. Well, for listeners, prepare for information download.
There you go. First one coming from Richie Garcia, scouting Emerson Hyndman, the 22-year-old American midfielder for Bournemouth. Emerson started in preseason games against both Sevilla and Levante and scored Bournemouth's first goal in their 4-3 win over Levante.
See, he could be playing this year.
Get out of here, Justin Lerma.
Kalmbach is scouting Marcelo Palomino, the 17-year-old American winger for Brazos Valley Cavalry FC. Keith says, in 2 games with Cavalry FC, Marcelo Palomino has scored 2 goals, one of which was a banger of a free kick from about 25 to 30 yards out. I thought bangers could only be songs.
No, you can have a banger of a free kick. I just want to start making you use more modern slang because it just makes me happy. Or maybe
bangers old slang that's
recently
modern
again. Slang. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, everything old is new again.
Michael Curry scouting Haji Wright. I'm really ready for high waist jeans to go away. Michael Curry scouting Haji Wright, 20-year-old American forward at Schalke. From a Stars and Stripes FC report, quote, Wright returned from his trial with 2 Bundesliga side Union Berlin without an offer after failing to impress. US. After a disastrous loan last season at SV Sandhausen, Wright's future seems extremely murky at this point. For now, he will likely play for the Schalke U23s, end quote. Sigh, say I.
Let's move on.
Okay.
Michael Bates is scouting Tiana Davidson, the 19-year-old American defender for Stanford. Michael says Tiana Davidson was not called up to the 2018 FIFA Women's U20 World Cup squad, but that is only because she continues to get called up for the senior national team.
I should have put a period in there to let you pause to be like, I can't believe that. Why is she not getting called up?
She's on the senior national team.
Yeah.
She is one of the 23 players representing the US for the 2018 Tournament of Nations, and once again, she's the youngest player and the only college player on the roster. I believe the US won the Tournament of Nations with that final game win over Brazil.
There we go.
I'm pretty confident.
And
with Megan Rapinoe spying on free kicks. Did you see that?
I did see that. But with that said, I'm giving all the credit to Tiana Davidson.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Zebu A scouting Lucero Cuevas, the 22-year-old Mexican striker for Club America. Cuevas is injured. According to Zebu, she is using her free time to go to war with dozens of fake Lucero Cuevas Facebook accounts, most of which have more likes than the real account.
Go on, Lucero.
Yeah.
That's a brave move.
It is.
It's a brave move.
Got to occupy your time somehow.
Caroline Ikari is scouting Kellen Acosta, the 22-year-old American midfielder for the Colorado Rapids. As Darryl reported last week, Carolyn says, thank you for the credit, Acosta was traded to Colorado by FC Dallas in exchange for Dominique Baji and their first-round position in the 2019 MLS Super Draft.
You know that credit came from Carolyn, not me, because there's no way I would have given you that credit.
Correct. Colorado will get Dallas's first-round position as well as receive Dallas's second-round pick. Kellen Acosta celebrated his 23rd birthday by starting for his new club in a win over Boca Juniors on Tuesday. I'm guessing this is from a few weeks ago. In his fifth day on the job, he scored in his competitive debut, chipping DC United's David Ousted to score in the 82nd minute. Quick addendum to the Kellen Acosta deal. I do know FC Dallas get 50% of any sale
That's a key
that
point.
Colorado Rapids make.
Money is good. John Roeder scouting
Or
Jacob...
allocation money.
Yeah. Jacob Brun Larsen, 19-year-old Danish winger for Dortmund. Brun Larsen started and played the first half in Dortmund's International Champions Cup match against Man City, and John and his wife attended the game in person to celebrate their first anniversary. That's an outstanding anniversary.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah.
Shreyas Romani
Unless
is
you're a
scouting...
Man City fan, I guess. Or whatever.
Scouting Dan Axel Zagadou, the 19-year-old French centre-back for Dortmund. Shreyas says Zagadou also started that game against City, partnering Omer Toprak in Dortmund's 1-0 win. Zagadou is likely to compete with Toprak and new arrival from Mainz Abdou Diallo for the other centre-back spot, with Manuel Akanji likely having already cemented the other spot.
Attaboy.
Yes, he has, because Akanji might be the best defender in the world.
Shreyas was kind enough to add the telescoping legs part.
Yeah.
I was waiting to see if you would, but since you didn't, there it is.
I just called him the best defender in the world.
Yeah,
instead. I went extra. Dortmund have strengthened their fullback spot with the addition of Ashraf Hakimi, so Zagadou's time as the world's tallest left back seems to be over. He always looks slightly out of place there.
Correct. Manny Alcantara scouting Junior Firpo, 22-year-old Dominican left back for Real Betis. Junior Firpo has been linked with a move to Torino FC. Torino would want Real Betis to come down from their €25 million buyout clause that's currently in place. They've reportedly offered 10 million euros instead.
So they said, how about less than half?
Yeah. Interesting negotiating. That's Alexis Guerrero's negotiating. Betis still hope to re-sign Firpo to a new contract, but are weighing all their options if they cannot come to terms on a new deal.
Last, but by no means least, Robert Newman is scouting Mason Mount, the 19-year-old English midfielder on loan at Derby from Chelsea. Robert says Mount signed an extension with Chelsea earlier in the summer, keeps him at the club till 2022. Then, despite interest from clubs in Germany and the Netherlands, he agreed to go on loan to Derby because his idol, Frank Lampard Jr., is now coaching there, alongside Jody Morris, Chelsea's former U18 coach. I have an update on this. Mason Mount, I believe, scored the winner in Frank Lampard's first game as Derby manager this past weekend.
Okay.
Yeah.
Here's what we need to happen. I've got
What's
this
that?
all planned out now. Derby need to make a very deep cup run. Does League Cup, does that qualify you for Europa League as well, or is it just FA Cup?
Yeah, if you win it, you go.
Okay,
Yeah.
so maybe they win, maybe they finish runners up or whatever, and they get the Europa League spot. So Derby in the Europa League.
With you so far?
Rangers win whatever they need to do to get into the Europa League, and then we get Derby and Rangers in the same group.
Yeah.
So you've got Steven Gerrard versus Frank Lampard in an international competition.
And then we actually get to rank them.
I want that, Daryl.
Yes.
I want that bad.
I want that too.
My heart needs that to happen.
All right, thank you to everybody for today's scouting reports. If you'd like to join the Scouting Network, it's totalsoccershow.com/join. You'll be supporting the Total Soccer Show. Even if you don't want to scout, we also welcome you to the Total Soccer Show Scouting Network because you'd be supporting the show. Go to totalsoccershow.com/join, and when you get the option, click Silent Scout, and then you'll just support the show. No scouting work if you don't want to do it. That works for Taylor and I just as well, right?
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Thank you to everybody who does that, and thank you to everybody who may do that in the future.
And everybody who sends in those reports, because it's a really nice way to stay up to date with things. And if I'm being honest, it's a thing that I think in the past I've sort of been like, at the end, like, okay, we got to do these scouting reports and then we're out because we tend to go long. I'm going to try to change that a little bit because scouting reports are very fun.
I like to get them. I think it's more fun for me because you compile them. So sometimes I'm reading them for the first time.
see.
So for me, it's like a big news fest.
Yeah.
It's a news extravaganza at the end of the show for me and for listeners.
I will not go along with you on news extravaganza, but outside of that, I will go along with you on. It's also just a good way to keep up to date, and like especially with the transfer window coming to a close.
Yeah.
In England,
we'll see
not
where all the young Americans end up.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, Taylor Rockwell, thank you for taking the time to preview a quarter of the Premier League with me today.
Yeah, right back at you, buddy.
Listeners, thank you for listening. We'll be back tomorrow with Leicester, Liverpool, Man City, Man United, and Newcastle United.